Morning all, welcome to the Canner's Cookhouse. So we're going to be looking at some of the tools that we use to be able to keep track of what we're canning. So this little thermometer here goes inside the fridge, and that tells us what the temperature of the food is inside the fridge. And that's pretty important because we have food that will go off if it's left outside the fridge and the temperature gets too high. So I think we're looking at under 6 and over 65 is the safe temperatures, and between that 6 and 65 is called the danger zone, which allows food to go off, it allows pathogens to grow, allows all sorts of nasties to thrive in the food that we're going to can, which means if the canning time's not long enough, your food will go off or make you sick. So now this little gadget here, if we're cooking something in the oven, we can open the oven, like say for instance we're cooking some meat, which we want to can up after it's been cooked, and what we'll find is this will tell us what the temperature of that meat is, but in doing so we have to open the oven door and we have to let all the heat out. Yeah, maybe that's not such a good idea. Now, this little device here is a bit of a beauty, and it's digital and it's got a red laser, and you just point at whatever you want and it takes the surface temperature. So I also use this when I'm making jam, because if I stick my hand in the jam pot to take the temperature of the jam, I get burnt. So I simply point this down into my jam pot. It tells me the surface temperature of my jam. Now this little beauty here, this is a digital thermometer. It gives me a digital readout. It connects to my phone and it has these probes. And these probes I can put into the meat. So for instance, if I'm cooking some meat in the smoker, which I want smoked before I can it, and I do tend to do that, it adds a nice flavour to some heat and eat meals, I stick this in. And I don't have to open the door to know what the temperature is inside the meat that I'm cooking. Now, that I use that, for instance, if I want to make sausages, which I then want to chop up and add to my baked beans, or add to sausage and veggies, which I want to can up for heat and eat meals for later. So now my next little device here is a data logger. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's got the little button in there that unclips and goes onto or into this, which keeps it watertight when it's in the middle jar in my canner. And that's important because this little button by itself, if it gets wet, it will be destroyed, and it's the expensive bit. So this allows me to know what the temperature over time is for my cans, my jars, when I'm canning. And that tells me whether I've got it all safe or not. So now, okay, just a quick look now. This graph is the graph I get that shows the temperature over time. So this fridge has been fitted with a digital thermometer, and I can actually adjust what temperature I want to set this fridge for using this digital thermostat, which is wired up into the thermostat with a new thermostat inside the fridge to control the temperature. In this fridge here, I also have digital thermometer, and I also have digital controls for the humidity. So I control the humidity, I control the temperature, and I control the fans and the air circulation, because this is my salami fridge. And it turns the cold on, or it turns the heat on, or it turns the humidity on, or it turns the dehumidifier on, whatever's required to keep this running at the same temperature and humidity to keep my salamis nice. Now, this little device here is a pH tester for meat. So I don't know if you can see that. It's got a little tip on it that you push into the meat. So this is particularly important if you're making some sausages, which you want to later can. You do need to get the pH in those sausages right, so that the sausage is good before it goes into the food that you're putting it with, and that keeps all your food nice and safe. Also, if you have your pH reduced a little, so that you have a slightly more acidic product, that already gives you a whole heap of protection for your preservation, which you'll see in one of my later training videos. And it gives you the option to be able to reduce your time and temperature, which you've already seen in the chart from the data logger. Now, this little beauty here gets a lot of use in my kitchen. I check the pH, and this end here goes into the liquid. So if I'm fermenting something, I check the pH. If I'm making jam, I check the pH before I start cooking it. If I'm juicing, I check the pH. Pretty much everything I do, I check the pH. I also check the pH of food that I'm canning, because if I have the pH closer to 4 than to 6, I can reduce the cook time, which gives the food a better mouthfeel, which makes it look yummier and taste yummier. And it's digital. I turn it on and I keep the tip moist on it all the time. I never let it dry out. And that is pretty much the pH of my tap water.